Hi everyone, welcome back, and in this video we are going to see what are non-primitive data types. In the previous lecture we have understood what are primitive data types and what do you mean by primitive data types. Basically primitive data types are those data types which are built right into the Java, right? So primitive data types are the normal data types and non-primitive data types are the class based types in the Java. Okay, you can say non-primitive data types are the custom data types, we can say user defined data types kind of a thing. So they are not primitively built into the Java, but they are provided etc. You can create your own primitive non-primitive data types as well. And in Java we have two types of non-primitive data types out of the box. So as you can see on the screen, one is string, right, and the another one is array. So in this video, we'll be covering what is a string and this non-primitive data type. And when we'll be going to the OOPS and we'll be understanding classes, we'll be creating our own user-defined data types, which are known as non-primitive data types. Now, first of all, let's understand what are strings. Okay. So a string, basically in the previous lecture, we know that what is a character, right? So a character refers to a single letter. Okay. So this is a character. Similarly, a string is a collection of characters. For example, I can say P is a character, right? Similarly, I is also a character. It's a single quote and I is also a character. But what if I say that Piyush? Now this Piyush, basically my name, contains five characters like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if I talk about Piyush like a whole letter at once, so this thing is known as strings. You can find strings in any language, there are strings in C, there are strings in C++, and there are strings in Java. So what is this? Basically string is a collection of characters. Okay, a sequence of characters is known as a string. Now why string is a non-primitive data type, right? So in Java we don't have any primitive data type known as string. Basically what we have is a class, okay, a class whose name is string, okay, and internally internally uses the characters to basically create a string. So that's why it's a non-primitive data type. Internally it uses character, which is a primitive data type, but as string itself is not a data type, it is not a primitive data type, so it is categorized as a non-primitive data type. Now let's see in code how we can implement string or how we can create our own strings in Java. Now back to the code. Now this is the code from our previous lecture. So what I can do, I can remove this code. Okay. Now to create a string in Java, what you need to do is, first of all, you have to type string. Okay. Now notice one thing, that here S is capital, right? Because a string is not a type, it's a non-primitive data type and it's a class. And all the classes in Java starts with a capital letter. As you can see here, we have a class main, right? So this main class, the M starts with a capital letter. Similarly, a string is a class and its first letter is always capital. It's not a mandatory thing, but it's the good practice to name your classes with a capital letter. In upcoming videos, we'll be creating our own classes as well, and you'll notice that we'll always start our name with a capital letter. So what you need to do is, to create a string, first of all you have to write the string, then give a name to your variable, let's say name, okay? And then as we do now, we use a assignment operator, and instead of single quotes we have to use double quotes, okay? So if you want to store a single character, you use a single quote, but if you want to store multiple characters in a string, basically you use double quotes. And then I can say Piyush Garg, and at the end what I can do, I can terminate it. So this is how you can create strings in Java. Now let's try to S out this name. Okay, so I'll say name and let's run this code. So as you can see, now I'm getting Piyush Garg as the output of this code. Okay, so basically Piyush Garg that contains multiple characters is a string. So how can you create a string? Basically a string is with a capital thing because it's a non-primitive data type. Then you have this name and then Piyush Garg, and then finally what I can do, I can S out the name. Now I want to show you one more thing interesting here. I can do one more thing. I can have a string here, okay, and I can say some other string, I can say other, and I can say is a teacher, okay. So basically what I have two strings here, right? I have a name and I have a other whose value is a teacher. Now what will happen if I try to add, basically I try to add name this name with the other, this other variable. So what do you think what's gonna happen here? So if I run this code, just see what happens. It actually concatenates my string, right? So what it does, first of all, it takes a name and then it combines using the plus operator with the other one. If there was an integer and an integer, it will add up both, right? As we saw in our integer video. But if there are strings on the both sides, so what it does, the plus operator basically attaches the both the strings, and that's how you can make your own string, like concatenate two strings in Java. Now one other thing that I want to show you is, as string is a class, right? I told you that this string is not a data type, this is a class. So there are really useful features which are right built into the class. So this name variable is an instance of the string class, and I get some out of the box features, such as, just see carefully what I do. Here's a name. I'll press the dot on my keyboard. Now you can see what there are so many methods which are being shown on the screen. Like we have this to uppercase method. When I click on this method, you can see like I can say name.toUppercase. Now when I run this program, what will happen? Basically this Piyush Garg changes to all uppercase, right? Similarly, what I can do, I can say dot to lowercase, right? And now when I run the code, what will happen? This Piyush Garg basically changes to the all lowercase. Similarly, we have some more methods, right? To lowercase, to uppercase, we have get bytes, and we can even do a character at, like if I say character at 1. So like what will happen when I run it, I'll get I. So basically what it does, it considers this P to be as the 0th character, then this 1, then this 2. Like if you say 2, then Y should be coming up. So there are many useful methods in this string class, but we don't have that in integer, short or float, because those are primitive types, right? But string, a non-primitive data type, is a class. So there are various useful methods that are right built into the string. But that doesn't mean that integers are not good and why they are not implemented in this way. So in this video, I want to talk to you about one more thing that is known as wrapper classes. Okay. So as we saw that string is a class, and the benefit of a class is basically, if I write string here, that it has some methods, basically some useful methods right built into it. But if I talk about a normal int integer, this is a primitive data type and you cannot find any like these kind of methods in the integer, right? So what Java does is, basically if you go here, you see that here is a integer written, right, in our data types. Now this integer with a capital I is a class. Okay, basically it's a class. So I can say I with a capital I, integer. So like we have string as a non-primitive data type, we have a integer data type as well as a non-primitive data type. Okay, now what is this integer? Basically we refer to this integer as a wrapper class. Okay, basically a wrapper class. Now what this integer class do, internally it uses the primitive data type int, okay, but it attaches some useful methods to this int, okay, because this is a class. So similarly, like we have some useful methods in the string, we have some useful methods in the integer as well, but internally it uses int. So that's why it is known as wrapper class, because it's a wrapper around this int. So what you can do in Java is you can use the integer as it is as well, right? So like what we were doing, we were saying like int age equals to 22, and then I say like s out age, correct? And this code completely runs, right? Now what I can do, I can replace this integer with an integer like this with a capital I. Now this integer is a wrapper class and basically a non-primitive data type. Now see what I can do, I can say age dot, and now you can see like I have got some more useful methods here as well, right? I can convert it to a string, I can notify, I can do many values on it, I can do many operations on it. So basically Java has all the data types primitive and has the support for wrapper classes as well. So similarly, if I go back to this chart, so basically what is a int, right? So for this we have a wrapper class known as integer. Similarly for char we have a wrapper class known as character, and then for boolean we have a wrapper class with a capital B, boolean, and in the non-primitive data type we have seen what is a string. For arrays, I'll be making a dedicated video on array, because array is a little bit complex and needs a little bit more explanation to be understood. So for now we can skip array. So you know what is primitive data type, what is a non-primitive data type, what are strings and how you can use strings, and why string is a non-primitive data type. And now you know what are primitive integers and like primitive types, and what are wrapper classes. So that's all for this video, and I'll be meeting you in the next video.